Hakenkreuz, or the hooked cross, is a specific right-facing or clockwise variant of the swastika turned 45 degrees. It became the central symbol of National Socialist Germany. Its use dates back to the early days of the German Workers' Party before the founding of the NSDAP in 1920. The symbol was introduced through the influence of the Völkisch Thule Society and the Germanenorden, both of which had already adopted a swastika variant as their symbol. The Nazi Party formally adopted the hooked cross in 1920 as its emblem and core of its branding. It featured prominently on flags, armbands, badges, uniforms, and medals. Adolf Hitler chose the design, black hooked cross on a white circle on a red background, for its symbolism and visual impact. He explained in Mein Kampf that red stood for the social idea of the movement, not Marxist socialism, white for nationalism, and the swastika for the Aryan race and productive labor. The colors also echoed the Imperial German flag, appealing to those opposed to the Weimar Republic. While the 45-degree tilted version became dominant, other designs existed, including unslanted 90-degree versions such as Hitler's personal standard. Historically, the swastika appears in Neolithic and Bronze Age sites across Serbia, Greece, Mesopotamia, and Elam, dating as far back as 5500 BC, or even further, as we will see later. It has been used as a religious sun symbol, representing good fortune and well-being. By the early 20th century, it was known in the West, especially in the British Indian Army, as a positive Indian symbol. In Europe, it had long appeared among Germanic tribes, seen on brooches, pendants, swords, urns, runestones, and other objects from the Iron Age. It served as a cultural emblem, sometimes as a lucky charm, and was used in both left and right-facing forms without fixed ideological meaning. In the German Völkisch movements, it was embraced more intentionally, often tied to nationalist and ethnic ideas. Alfred Rosenberg, a key Nazi racial theorist, helped shape the Nazi interpretation, portraying Aryans as a master race and the swastika as their ancient symbol. Similar ideas had also appeared earlier in Austria, where Lanz von Liebenfels's New Templar Order used a swastika emblem surrounded by fleurs-de-lis to promote Aryan superiority. The hooked cross became one of the most powerful propaganda symbols of the 20th century, forever changing the global perception of the swastika. The Fylfot, aka Germanic swastika, or a cross crampony or cramponné, is a variant with perpendicular truncated arms, always upright and usually arranged at 90 degrees. It's closely tied to early Germanic and Anglo-Saxon cultures. One of the earliest known Germanic Fylfots was found on the Battersea Shield in Bronze Age England, dated to 350 to 50 BC. Another appears on a 3rd century comb found in the Nittem Bog in northern Germany, a sacred site containing numerous ritual offerings. Combs were significant burial items in Germanic culture, symbolizing dignity and personal status. The Fylfot was also found on bracteates from Denmark and southern Sweden, thin gold pendants modeled after Roman coins used in the 5th and 6th centuries. These symbolized divine favor and were worn by women, often with motifs linked to Odin like runes and ravens. The Fylfot also appears on warrior gear from the Migration period and on Anglo-Saxon swords like one from Kent. It is found stamped on cremation urns like the ones found on Spong Hill in Norfolk. The Fylfot served both decorative and symbolic purposes, protective on women's jewelry, status marking on male-associated objects like weapons and runestones. It was particularly linked to elite classes, warriors, poets, and kings, seen as under Odin's divine domain. The Fylfot thus expressed the connection between nobility, warfare, and the mystical. Its use extended into early Christian and heraldry contexts. It was found in Roman catacombs in both pagan and Christian settings, and continued into medieval church art in Britain. Fylfots appear on grave slabs in Scotland and Ireland, in stained glass windows in places like Cambridge and Edinburgh, in the baptismal window of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and even on English church bells. The Gammadion is its mirrored counterpart and linked to the broader Greco-Roman world. Its name comes from the combination of 4 Greek capital gammas forming the symbol. Despite its near identical shape, the similarity to the Fylfot is considered coincidental. The broken sun cross, also known as the curved swastika, is a variation of the ancient solar cross that represents the sun, life, or spiritual continuity. The sun cross or solar cross dates back to Neolithic and Bronze Age Europe, found in Scandinavian rock carvings and ritual artifacts. In the early 20th century, the Thule Society, a German occultist and nationalist group that heavily influenced Nazi ideology, adapted the traditional sun cross by breaking or curving its arms. This modified version was promoted as an emblem of a supposed ancient Aryan spirituality. It became a centerpiece in the folkish German faith movement, where it symbolized pagan Germanic traditions. The same stylized version was adopted by the 5th SS Panzer Division Viking, which fought on the Eastern Front during World War II. The Tursaansydän, or Heart of Tursas, is an ancient Finnish symbol closely related to the swastika, traditionally used by the Sami people and in broader Finnish folk culture. Originating from prehistoric, likely Iron Age Finland, it was believed to ward off evil, curses and misfortune. Often carved into wooden furniture, buildings, or worn as an amulet, the symbol functioned as a protective talisman. It's also associated with the thunder god Ukko in Finnish mythology, or Thor in neighboring Scandinavian belief, representing the swirling, flying motion of their mythical hammer. Its historical role was entirely spiritual and protective, but in modern times, the symbol has been appropriated. Notably, the Russian neo-Nazi group Slavic Union incorporated the Tursaansydän into their logo prior to their banning in 2010. In Hinduism, the swastika is a sacred symbol of good fortune, protection, harmony and spiritual purity. It is commonly seen at doorways of homes and temples, and drawn in mandalas during weddings or naming ceremonies. It holds a strong connection to the Diwali festival, often created in sand or formed with lights. Hindu tradition recognizes 2 forms: the clockwise swastika, which represents the sun, movement, karma and life, and the counterclockwise swastika, which is less common and symbolizes the night. The symbol is often red and sometimes has 4 dots on the inside, representing the 4 stages of life or goals of human existence. In Buddhism, the swastika symbolizes the Buddha's footprints and marks his chest, palms or feet. It represents the concept of samsara, the endless cycle of birth, death and rebirth. The swastika is widespread in East Asian Buddhist communities, appearing on temples, artifacts and decorations. It's used as a motif in textiles, architecture and religious art, symbolizing luck, spiritual power and well-being. In Tantric Buddhist traditions, the swastika is a meditative symbol. The clockwise version is most common, while the counterclockwise form, again known as swastika or Yungdrung, is used in Tibetan Bon and Malaysian Buddhism. In Jainism, the swastika is usually depicted clockwise, with dots or a crescent above it. It represents the 7th savior and supreme preacher of the righteous path. It's one of the 8 auspicious symbols in the Svetambara tradition. It's required in all Jain temples and scriptures, and rituals usually begin and end by drawing it in rice around the altar. Jains use the swastika in front of deity statues, placing offerings on it as part of worship. Its 4 arms symbolize the 4 possible reincarnations: heaven, hell, human, and animal or plant. The Chinese Wan. The swastika was introduced to China through Buddhism and became known as Wan during the Tang Dynasty. In 693, Empress Wu Zetian declared it the source of all good fortune. Used in both variations, the character means 10,000, symbolizing infinity, immortality, and longevity. Initially used as a decorative motif on pottery, it later became a Buddhist symbol of eternity and good fortune. In pre-Buddhist contexts, it may have been linked to the sun or cosmos. The symbol spread to Japan with Chinese writing in the 8th century, where it became known as manji, used as a family crest by clans like the Hachisuka. In Korean Buddhism, the swastika symbol, called Manja, is a traditional emblem of good fortune, auspiciousness, and the entirety of creation. It appears widely in Buddhist temples, religious art, and even traditional clothing like the hanbok, where it conveys positive energy. The term comes from the Chinese character for 10,000, representing infinity, totality, and eternal truth. It's associated with the Buddha's 32 marks of excellence and used throughout temple architecture to denote sacred presence. Unlike the Hakenkreuz, the Korean swastika is almost always left-facing and aligned horizontally, not tilted or rotated. The auburu is a traditional Basque symbol made up of 4 comma-shaped arms. It represents life, movement, and unity, often interpreted as symbolizing the sun, the 4 elements, or the 4 Basque provinces. It's generally seen as a sign of prosperity and good fortune. The auburu began appearing around the late 16th century in Basque decorative art, often on tombs and carved wooden chests. Some argue that the symbol isn't linked to the swastika, but instead comes from Paracelsian symbolism and was used to mark the graves of healers and priests. Historically, the auburu has also appeared in Galician, Illyrian, and Asturian contexts. In Basque regions, it is still displayed on homes and shops as a protective symbol. Though its public use declined during the Francoist regime, which suppressed Basque identity, it later re-emerged as a cultural emblem. It has since been featured on flags and used by Basque nationalist organizations as a marker of regional pride. The Tetraskelion, meaning four-legged, is an ancient symbol characterized by 4 bent or curved arms radiating from a central point. Unlike other variants, it often appears with more flowing spiral-like symmetry. Its earliest known form dates back to around 10,000 BC, carved into an ivory figurine found at Myzin, Ukraine. The symbol later appeared in the Indus Valley, on Greek pottery from the 8th century BC, in ancient Maltese temples, and on Anglo-Saxon gold pendants. In Greek culture, the Tetraskelion symbolized motion, life force, and the sun. The Triskelion or triskele is an ancient symbol made of 3 symmetrically arranged shapes, often spirals or legs, radiating from a central point. It symbolizes movement, cycles, and triplicity. It appears in many cultures, most notably Celtic, Greek, Roman, and even in some Buddhist texts. Its origins are likely in Iron Age Celtic Europe, around 500 BC, but earlier versions have been found on Mycenaean pottery and Lycian coins. In the Celtic world, the triskele appears on Neolithic stones, like those at Newgrange in Ireland, representing the sun or the connected realms of land, sea, and sky. The triple spiral form is especially associated with Ireland, Brittany, and Scotland. Other cultural variants include the 3-legged form found on ancient Sicilian coins, the coat of arms of the Isle of Man, and the Kingdom of Naples. A triskele made of 3 hairs appears in various European and Asian contexts. In modern times, the triskele was appropriated by extremist groups. The Afrikaner Weerstandsbeweging in apartheid-era South Africa used a red, white, and black flag with a stylized triskele of 3 interlocked 7s. During World War II, the 27th Waffen-SS Volunteer Division Langemark in occupied Belgium used a stylized triskele as a symbol. Today, the use of stylized triskeles in certain contexts can be considered illegal in Germany. The Ugunskrusts, or fire cross, is the Latvian version of the swastika, deeply rooted in Baltic folklore and symbolism, also known as Hakenkreuz, cross of Perkunas, or Laimas cross. It's a pre-Christian symbol representing fire, thunder, and divine power. The cross appeared widely in Latvian decorative arts, traditional textiles, pottery, and grave goods, with numerous regional variants, many more complex or inwardly hooked than the standard swastika form. While it originated as a spiritual and natural symbol, Latvia officially adopted a more conventional right-facing swastika for military insignia after gaining independence in 1918. The Latvian Air Force used a maroon-on-white swastika, the national colors, until the Soviet occupation in 1940. Despite later associations with Nazism, the Ugunskrusts remains an important symbol in Latvian folk heritage. Its presence in traditional decorations, especially in culturally significant towns like Lielvārde, can sometimes provoke misunderstanding outside its local context. A stylized version of the fire cross also forms the foundation of the Order of Lācs Plaisis, Latvia's highest military award. The Kolovrat, meaning spinning wheel, is an 8-armed swastika variant with a debated origin. Though examples of multi-armed swastikas appear as far back as geometric era Greece, the Kolovrat itself is poorly attested in early Slavic archaeological material. Similar designs have been found on pottery and coins in Poland, the Czech Republic, Russia and Ukraine, but they are rare and typically outnumbered by 4-armed variants. Most swastika-like motifs in Slavic regions do not match the 8-armed Kolovrat structure. For Slavic neo-pagans, the symbol represents the sun, divinity and the cyclical nature of life and death. It's also invoked as a symbol of cultural identity associated with the Slavic thunder deity Perun or sun god Svarog. In the 1990s, Russian neo-pagan and neo-Nazi figure Alexei Dobrovolsky popularized the Kolovrat as a spiritual emblem, linking it to nationalist revival and resurgent paganism. Since then, it has been used by ultra-nationalist and controversial groups such as Russian National Unity and Rusich. The Arevakhach, aka Armenian Eternity sign or sun cross, is an ancient national symbol of Armenia. It first appeared on Armenian stone monuments in the 1st century BC and has continued to hold deep cultural significance. The symbol represents everlasting life and cosmic continuity. While the Arevakhach is a distinct spiral cross, earlier swastika variants have also been documented in Armenian territory, especially in Copper Age petroglyphs and Bronze Age artifacts such as belts, medallions and cauldrons. Related spiral motifs were found among neighboring cultures, including on Avar tribal standards in Dagestan. Today, the symbol remains a key marker of Armenian identity. It appears widely on church walls, tombstones, monuments, and is frequently used by Armenian institutions. It has also been adopted by Armenian neo-pagan groups. Native American swastika variants. The swastika was widely used by various Native American tribes long before its appropriation in the 20th century. Among the Hopi, Navajo, Pima, and Tlingit peoples, it carried positive spiritual meanings tied to life, nature, and cosmic balance. Often representing the 4 sacred directions or winds, the symbol denoted cycles of life, abundance, healing, and migration. For the Navajo, the symbol known as whirling log was used in healing rituals and sand paintings. Among the Pima, a similar swastika-like symbol represented the 4 wind gods and their directional paths. Variants of the swastika have been found on pottery, textiles, and copper artifacts, including Hopewell mounds in Ohio and objects from the Mississippi Valley. The Nkontim symbol, used by the Akan people of Ghana, is an Adinkra motif that resembles a swastika and represents loyalty, honesty, and readiness to serve. Deeply rooted in Ashanti culture, it was traditionally found on gold weights, textiles, and architecture, especially within royal courts, where it signified dependable service and integrity. Often incorporated into patterns, clothing, and carved elements in buildings, Nkontim reflects the virtues expected of a faithful attendant or court official. Its visual similarity to a swastika is coincidental, with no shared origin, and its use in Ghana remains firmly tied to local values.